Call the meeting to order at 16:30. This is the Fire Station Building Committee, December 6th, here in the Veterans Room. Roll call.
Joe Hewlett,
Present.
Mike Langevin, John
Delayed,
Shug-
by
yeah,
the way, on
yeah.
that one.
John Shugda here, Mike Julian,
Yeah.
Jeff Matthews,
Present.
Dave Langevin.
Here.
All right, approval of the minutes from November 15th, 2023. Are there any errors, corrections, omissions, anything that we need to address there?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. All right, so we'll start with the review of the general contractor bid submissions, and entertain a motion to award. We did have some discussion on the topic this morning. Was everybody, did everyone either gain access to Project Dog or?
I tried, I couldn't,
I
but,
did forward you the
no, I appreciate that.
the bid, so there were 2 bids received. One bid from WES for $22,536,727, and then the second one from another company in Providence for $25 million and change. I did have quite a bit of discussion with Mr. Pomeroy about that we had hoped that there were some more bids. I guess there was originally 10 pre-qualified general contractors that were looked at prior to going to bid, and unfortunately we only received bids from 2. As you're aware from past discussions, our last estimate was 21 million and change, and this bid that we received is 22,536,000. So it's about a little more than $1 million over what our last estimate was. Going into the next topic on the federal and state funding opportunities, I guess I'll say unfortunately, I had the opportunity to speak with Congressman Neal's office today, and from my understanding at this point, even though his website still shows that there is a project for $2.5 million in the Southbridge Fire Station, the House Republicans have cut it down to $1 million. It made it through the House, but it still needs Senate approval, and there is essentially no chance of it increasing. If anything, it may be decreased, and it's nothing that we would have access to until at least February because of the ongoing government looming shutdown and everything else. I did coordinate through Congressman Neal's office, who said that they would be in contact with Senator Markey's office and Senator Warren's office. They have had regular conversations in the past. I did let them know that I was a little disappointed that we didn't get some type of update that this happened sometime in November, that this was cut down from 2.5 million to 1 million, and that at this point we're not going to have access to it prior to when a decision needs to be made for this. Yeah, I guess we can go into a kind of a budget update, Rick, if you want to start
Sure,
there.
thank you.
With the budget document. There are more copies up here if anybody else needs them.
You're full of good news today. Watch out. Jeez.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, both KBA and Pomeroy Associates did contact a good number of the bidders who did not bid, who were pre-qualified that did not bid. And the common thread was that they just were too busy. They had other projects. They had manpower issues themselves. And it just wasn't the right fit for the right time. And what was also common was that most of the contractors submit on every pre-qualification, even if they don't intend on bidding on it, just so that they're in there, and then when it comes time to bid, they decide whether or not they're going to bid or not. So unfortunately, we had 2 parties that were interested. One of the GCs that was contacted expressed that they really were interested in bidding on it. However, they had some estimating issues in their office, and they fell short. So unfortunately, we're left with 2 bids. I provided you a budget update to let you see which is the last column, budget adjustment number 10, to let you see what it looks like. And I just want to remind you that in our previous budgets, starting with very early on in this process, as we started estimating the project in schematic design and design development, it was very clear that the numbers had increased considerably since the study was performed in 2018. So we started balancing the budget against the contingency. Along this way, we had depleted our contingency down to 0, and we've been reporting that every month in our final column. So in this column, what we wanted to do is show you a realistic budget with a contingency, because the team recommends that every project that goes into construction does require a contingency for as a safety net. If you don't spend the money, that's great, but you should have it there in case there's an unforeseen condition. So in this budget, we adjusted the first line to reflect the difference between the last estimate and the current bid. The last estimate was $21,288,000. The current bid is $22,536,000. So we had to adjust our budget upward to accommodate that. We also zeroed out the third line and the fourth line, because both of those lines, those values were carried in the construction estimate, so we zeroed them out in this exercise. And then in the fourth or the fifth line down, we adjusted up the amount carried for the building demolition. If you recall, the building demolition estimate came in slightly higher than what was carried, or the bid, I should say. So the total of the adjustments for this budget are in those first 5 lines. 4 of them active, 1 was not adjusted. Also, what we did was added in realistic contingencies, which are the 2 last lines of the column. We added in a 5% contingency for hard cost, so that's a 5% factor off of the hard cost. And then we added in a $233,000 owner's soft cost item contingency, and that's to cover any variances that could occur in the owner's soft cost, furniture, equipment, so on and so forth. The numbers, again, were estimated in 2018. So we added in those 2 contingencies. In our forecasts previously, we had been identifying the need to carry a 10% contingency. So we've ratcheted that 10% down to 6% total, 5% and 1%. With those adjustments, it's showing that we're over budget by just over $4 million.
So with that, as in the past, I've given out spreadsheet updates of what has been paid out of the fire department's office. Obviously, the invoices that go out from KBA, Pomeroy, Time Bond, all of those. You have an updated list of that in your packet today. And then I did, prior to Christine being out, I did try and sit with her to kind of see what else was in there, because Munis was showing more dollars that had been expended that had not come through us. And most of them, I think they come down to things that were run through the former town manager's office and some administrative things. So as you can see, as of the last batch, which was at our November 15th meeting, what's been paid out from our office so far was $2,073,234.88. We've also identified that the relocation costs, which are not listed on ours because we did not actually issue payments for those or anything, that was $216,700. The land acquisition was $2,284,833. There was a $7,965 charge for bond issuance. There is a $10,037 fee from Unibank for financial advisory services. I was not able to get a clear answer of what that was through her office before she was out. There's about $750 in advertising fees that were paid out of the town manager's office. And another line item that was there was $16,657.88 for insurance premiums. Again, I was not able to clarify exactly what those premiums were, whether they were covering the individual properties, the project as a whole, but those have been held or paid out under this account. So that brought the total to $4,610,179.79. With the invoices that we have before us tonight, which are about $90,000, it brings the total to $4,709,129.66 is what we've paid out so far. Just doing some rough calculations, if we looked at eliminating the contingency completely, we're still short by $1.85 million. So that's taking the contingency completely out. We did have at length discussions with the town manager today, with Mr. Pomeroy and members from Castle Bowes. The bottom line is that we do not have sufficient funds to authorize this bid, and in the general concept of things, it is best business practice for us to reject this bid because we do not have sufficient funds before us. On top of that, obviously, in the October 18th meeting, we voted to secure the electrical services, the generator, and the PO was not issued for that. And at this point, I'm also recommending that we rescind that vote so that we do not pay out $200,000 for equipment that we don't know the scope of where it goes moving forward. Are there any questions to this point?
I guess my biggest question is, where do we go from here? We know one thing, we could always say, okay, we could put it on hold right now and stuff, but prices haven't been going down, they've just been going up.
No, they haven't. One of the discussions that was held today was obviously if we reject this bid, we cannot make the same package appear again and rebid it. There has to be a substantive change, and there was some research going on as to what the extent of substantive change would be. Can it just be the fact of, quite honestly, I don't really want to be responsible for monitoring those two buildings anymore.
Yeah.
And we need to get those down. So by us securing those services separately, does that change the project enough? We didn't have a solid answer to that for this meeting. Outside of that, the shortage right now, just a rough number, the estimated construction cost at $22,536, that comes out to like $835 a square foot. Speaking with Mr. Pomeroy and Taylor McDonald the other day, Stoughton is in the $800 ballpark as well at this point. At $800 is $835 a square foot to match the $4 million shortfall with a contingency. It's like 5,000 square feet. Our original program was 36,000 square feet. We've minimized that by 9,000 square feet to get where we stand now at 27,000. And I don't know where there's 5,000 more square feet to just do those rough numbers. There's not. We've had the conversation several times, as has been brought up, about eliminating a bay or something along those lines, but that does not equate the same. It's not, a bay is essentially a shell with air, and that would not those square feet from one bay would not equate to that basic calculation. So there's a potential of a redesign, there's a potential of changing some of the systems in play, some of the features of the facade, some of the floor coverings, things like that, but it is a huge number to overcome. But there is nothing that from the town side or the federal government side that is going to change the situation that we're in right now in the next 30 days. So the recommendation at this point is to reject this bid from this committee.
I'd recommend that we set a vote for the electrical first. And to rescind that order, or not even order it.
Okay. So is there a motion to rescind the $296,800 appropriation for the electrical equipment?
I'll recommend that, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Just a question. Has any of you guys worked with any of these contractors?
I've worked with Marin, but their number, from my perspective, was just, if I get it, I'm gonna make sure I make some money at it. It's a big departure. In WES, in 20 years, we haven't worked with them once. They've never been low. They're usually middle of the pack to high.
Yeah, but they're a well-known firm. Marin is a smaller Rhode Island firm that only recently has been getting into decent-sized public construction. They've done a lot of smaller projects in Rhode Island.
Yeah, we did a library with them out on Martha's Vineyard.
Huh.
So that was,
So is it my understanding that it may be, if we reject this, that in another 3 months or so, we could go out for, make some changes?
we would have to make some modifications, but we have to think about what we're modifying to. In other words, if we're trying to modify to what we believe the real numbers are today, then we're cutting square footage. Or do we minimize our finishes, reduce the exterior envelope finishes, and make some not program changes, not square footage changes, but more finish changes and materials changes, and put it back out in the street and see what you get from it. The problem is that after a while, people get tired of, if you're just testing the market, people get tired of that. I've been thinking about it on my way out here, and you're at the size you need to be for today and for the future.
Absolutely.
So cutting square footage is not the answer, and you're not going to get $4 million out of finishes. Maybe you'll see better numbers in the spring, but maybe you'll see worse. I don't know if there's an opportunity to put it to the town, say, this is what we have. Do we want to have a special town meeting to see if they increase the budget or not? It may be worth a try, rather than throwing everything in the trash at this point.
I think we need to take some time to reflect and come up with a rational approach. I'm not sure how much more we can take out of finishes because we've been through that. We need to look at systems. We're going to have to look at a lot of things to not lose functioning. And I was taking a look this afternoon at, is there any place to take out square footage and not harm the long-term usefulness of the building? And there's not much. You know, could we take out 500 square feet? Probably. But we need to, I think we need time to be able to put together some thoughts and get back to you with some real recommendations. This is, and based on what number? What, is it definitely, if we have to reduce the project by $4 million, that's redesign. There's no two ways about it. So,
David?
Yeah, well, we all know the news is gloomy, but we're talking about a building right now that we all know is ancient. We did cut out bays already. We did cut out the extra building in back. We've downsized on some of the materials that are going in there. The last thing we want to do is make it excuse my language, a shit box for not set up for the future. So I mean, personally, yeah, it's not a bad idea to reflect and stuff, but we can't be cutting back. And I get it, you know, putting it before the citizens, it's probably not going to fly. They were very grateful to give us the money they did. So I don't know what the good answer is, but the last thing we want to do is make it cheaper, and you're going to pay for that cheapness later on, all the way around. I mean, everyone goes, well, look at Dudley, look at what they did. They didn't do anything for the future already on their little hut they got there. And that's what they have. They have a little hut that they're going to have to add on with times of change and stuff. What you guys did, and with, you know, Joe and Chief and stuff, is you built it for the future, and you built it for the times that we're in now with carcinogens and all that stuff. You know, you start playing games with all these things that they're not, oh, we want it. It's a need. So, I mean, I think we just got to really try to figure out how we can make this work. Because I don't think we're not doing the citizens any good either by also shortchanging them. So yeah, I don't have the crystal ball. I don't know what the answer is, but the last thing you want to do is build a building. I look at the police department's 20 years old. They thought of the future when they built that. And that's all you're doing here. You're not asking for the Taj Mahal of things. People may think that out there, but at the end of the day, it's not even close to the Taj Mahal. It's designed for now and the future, instead of saying, come back to the taxpayers, we need $10 million 10 years down the road. Well, I'm sure we're not going to have the $10 million then. So it's stuff that we all already know, but cutting back would be detrimental to the employees that work in there and live in there, basically, and quite frankly to the citizens that are we are grateful for what they did, and I don't think we could go back for any more on them. I really don't. I don't think it's fair to them either. So yeah, it's just very frustrating. I mean, we've been at this for a long time, and this is where we're at now, and we still have the same ugly problems over there, you know. So yeah.
All right, so Mr. Manager, Mike, and then Cap.
I'll let the members speak first and then I'll go off there.
Mike?
I would hate to see us cut also. Is there any, through the chair, is there any way we can get more state money?
No, you missed that.
You
I
missed
did.
it.
We got cut.
We did.
We're down to $1 million.
Maybe.
That's federal money. isn't it?
Federal.
But still,
Wow.
state's not going to give.
The state has committed their 50,000, and that's what they've offered.
All right, my other, we didn't go to any businesses for any money.
We can't.
Why?
because we cannot solicit funds through this committee. We need a committee, a
Through this?
fundraising committee.
You just said it, through this committee.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we can't do it.
Nope.
Right, just needs-
Someone would have to step up from the firehouse or something like that. You know, we do have some big businesses in town, and I'm not saying they're gonna come up with 4 million, all right? But I bet you we could get a mill. Those are my thoughts. I don't really wanna cut either. I agree, you build it once, and, you know, I'd like to hear the town manager's thoughts of if there's extra money somewhere, anywhere. But that's my thought.
Cap?
Through you, that price on the square footage, have you noticed if that's starting to come down, or are we still up here from before, from other projects?
Still going up.
It's still going up.
One of the conversations that we had is obviously Firehouse Magazine just posted their station design awards, and they go back a couple of years, but, you know, throughout the country, they're building much larger buildings for 300, 400, 500, 600 dollars per square foot. Obviously, they do not deal with prevailing wage issues that we do deal with here in Massachusetts. Even some of the projects in Massachusetts, the highest one that was posted was Needham at $760 something a square foot.
Where are we at?
About $835 with this estimate.
It's pretty scaled down, the building as it is.
Anything else, Scott? Mr. Manager?
So, obviously, we've been working on this a long time, not just as, you know, chair of the fire station building committee, but also, you know, as town manager. And it is disappointing news to get a number like this, hearing from the federal government. And I know the conversations that I had earlier today were, we can't cut that kind of square footage, all right? We do have a council that knows that the building has to be made, but we all have to take a step back and debrief on this now. We do know that there is no way that we can award this bid today. There's no way we're gonna have $4 million in 30 days. So reject the bids, step back, not make any decisions on redesign today, and go back. And I think I communicated this with Deputy and the Chief and Rick. And Mike's team is to first find out what substantive changes means. What does it specifically mean? I agree with the deputy that we take down those 2 properties immediately. We have $50,000 that's been earmarked to us from the State House for demolition and site work. We're gonna have to take in some money from this. So we'll take some of that money, get that demoed, clear the lot. Is that a substantive enough change that we don't have to whack enough square footage? Or do we have to make some other minor changes? And then,
Well, just, you asked the question about whether that was enough of a change to justify rebidding it. In terms of rebidding it, problems with the state, I don't think there would be a problem, because you're materially changing the scope.
the whole scope of the
Yes.
whole layout, so.
But
then-
obviously, that's not gonna,
No, but so that's, okay, is that enough of a change that we're not changing square footage? We have knocked the tin on this as much as we can. So let's take the next 30, 60 days to again re-engage. I already had a conversation with Senator Fatman this afternoon at the other event that I was just at. He said, I need $4 million. He says, you know, okay, but I did say, Ann Goby is now the secretary, the director of whatever, rural programs and infrastructure, and supposed to be bringing money for towns. Let's get these people to the table and say, look, we've always said, we brought $25.7 million to the table, right? And let's just take a deep breath and say, we have the land now, which was the big impediment. We don't want prices to go up, but what is the environment gonna be for bidding? We don't know what that's gonna be. You know, everybody's struggling for help right now. But what's gonna happen in 4 months, there may be a change that people now are out of work and these people, I don't know, we don't know, that's the game. We did roll the dice by going out to bid, that, right? We really talked about that decision. Did it make sense to go out to bid right now, or should we wait to see if there are any economic indicators, right, that might change? We don't know that answer, right? Are things gonna stay flat? Are they gonna determine? So I say reject the bid, that's a no-brainer. Let's take a deep breath, all think about what our next steps is, not kick the can down the road 60 days, but come up with a clear-cut plan and say, this is our path. We don't know on the town side because of our internal things that are going on. I have a new team coming on board on January 1st. If once we evaluate, you know, do we get a big chunk of free cash that the council may be willing to say, hey, we could put a little bit of money from free cash towards the fire station? I don't know. Is there landfill royalties? Is there stabilization? But we have to, as a financial team in town, think about those things and come up with a plan, while we also work with the legislatures and call now and say, what is the 1 million? Now, I met with Congressman McGovern 2 weeks ago. He's not our congressman, but I said, hey, look, we need this money. Would you work with him? He said he will work with Congressman now. I'll engage Congressman McGovern again and try to see if they can get that restored to that 2.5. It's just gonna take a lot of work, but let's just take a deep breath, a step back, make the decision we have to make today. We're not gonna make any other decision, pay what we have to pay, but I would
agree.
say, make a decision to, and let KBA give us a proposal for the demo that we can go out even to our local people that we have, right? We have some local things, right, Mike? We have some that may be engaged once we have that package out, and get those 2 properties down
Yeah. No, that's,
and work that problem. That's my recommendation.
Like,
I agree wholeheartedly, we
Yeah.
reject the bid, we buy time. How do we get, and it's through the chair to you, Jack, how do we get that committee going where we can get some money from businesses?
It's a pack. It's called, the legal term is a pack.
Yeah, the town can't do it, we can't do it. You find some individuals that you know, you must all know a bunch of individuals out there that might be available to put a committee together. They put the committee together, they put out the package. We already set up that the town will accept the donations. So we already went to the town and asked them to approve a donation account, which we have some money in, not that much, but
Could it be a firefighter?
I'm not,
They're not on the committee.
I won't say that, I don't know.
Can you get that answer?
I would say that would have to be a conversation that somebody would call the ethics department to find out. As town manager, I don't feel comfortable asking that question because they're gonna ask me a legal question. I'm not gonna find that out. If a firefighter wants to call the ethics board and ask them if it's okay, then they should do that. Because that's their individual request to say whether it passes ethics or not. Just a legal thing, Mike, I defer.
And the ethics board turns things around pretty quick.
They do, yeah. So if the individual calls and says, hey, I'm a firefighter, we wanna raise some money, so I think they'll give them guidelines as to, you can't do it in uniform, you can't use this, you
Right.
can't do that, but
Right.
they can find that information.
I was gonna just jump right off what Michael said, you know, to add it to Jack's, you know, along that same line, add in the public campaign, for fundraising, and, I think it's a great approach.
Yeah.
Keep
I
the
mean,
design,
And
and
just
just
keep knocking the tin as the money.
keep
Every
the fingers
little bit
crossed, maybe in the
counts.
spring, and that's, I didn't even think of the demo of the houses, but that is a substantive change.
It is.
Maybe we see a downtick in the economy as we turn the
Combination
corner.
of things we might be able to,
Yeah,
that's why I just don't like, gotta be positive, gotta keep going.
yeah, no,
It's been a lot of work, just keep going.
yeah.
Because one, the building is designed correctly.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yes, it
fits the program it needs, short-term, long-term. It's in a great location right now. It's just, we're in an environment of economics that is unprecedented, and hopefully things will change. I gotta believe, because we talked about this on the town side. I know I didn't get recognized again, but we talked about it on the town side. DPW cannot find people to work. I'm thinking, in my conversation with you, probably in 4 to 5 months, when the jobs start hitting and people are out of work, that's gonna change. You know, I really do believe that something's gotta pop. It's just the way it is, you know? So I think, again, deep breath, let's think about it and make good decisions. The worst thing is to do knee-jerk reactions. Just
Yeah.
let's come up with a plan and let's keep executing.
Mike?
To you, Deputy, could you possibly sit down with the union and see if they can make that call on ethics? And if they get cleared, I know when we were in Bay Path and we asked for donations, we just couldn't wear anything that said, oh, Bay Path or whatever. But it was all legit, and they could get it right from the ethics board. So if you could have that discussion, I'd appreciate that too.
Good.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe in the direction we're going. Yes, it's the right thing to take a step back, breathe. I also know we're going to get this built one way or the other. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it has to happen. I guess my other question is, any of these politicians, have they ever toured our fire station? Really seen what we're up against?
Yes, they
I
have.
personally, and the
Yeah.
deputy,
We're not asking for the world. We're,
Yeah.
you know, if they can visually see it, that's a big thing.
Yeah. And I actually, when I just spoke to Senator Fatman, we had the conversation about Ann Goby coming to town. And he did say, would it be worth it for her to come to town and do a tour? So we're gonna get her engaged to come into town and do a tour as well. And hopefully she could, she's in charge of the economic and development and all that stuff for
Nice
rural
person,
communities. Yeah, and she's very local centric. She's from this area. That's her job, is to assist rural communities. Congressman McGovern said, well, there's plenty of money, right? Councilman Marquetti was there, I believe, right? Congressman McGovern said, well, there's plenty of infrastructure money, it's been given to the state. It's, we just gotta get the right players in.
We just, right.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, at the end of the day, is the last thing you want to get, and it's only a matter of time. And this is not a scare tactic. This is reality. I mean, you guys are already dealing with a building on Mill Street that's very old. The same thing can happen to the fire station. I mean, eventually. When? Nobody knows that. No one has the crystal ball. But the last thing you want to do is have a safety hazard for, one, you invested a lot of money in equipment in that station. Now you want to protect it, and you want to protect the men and women in there. So, yeah, I have no problem rejecting where we are now and trying to reset. And, you know, I don't think this group is going away anytime soon. We've been in it so long now that turning our backs is not the answer either. So I'm in favor of rejecting. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we reject the bid as presented.
There's a second.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Through you, who sends out the notice? Do you prepare notice and send it out?
I'd like to get it out tomorrow. We have to post in the Central Register and in Combis. I post in Central Register, you guys post in
Give us the
Combis.
notice or whatever, and we'll have Matt put it up.
Yeah,
However we want to word it. It's gotta be that, you know, the awarding authority hereby rejects the bid because it's not in the best interest of the town at this time,
yeah,
right? Is that how it's worded?
yep. I'm just trying to think how quickly I can get it to Matt, so. I can post the Central Register without a notice. It's all mechanical.
I mean, I can put that language if you want. I mean,
Yeah, if you care to, because I've got a, I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, and I've got an early morning meeting, and I won't be back until midday.
So do we go to the actual site where the bid was, or is it a new notice?
No, it's on Combis. I'll have, KBA can post in Project Dog, because they have their administrator there. I'll post in Central Register. And basically, in Central Register, I'll put that language in.
And then we'll come by, do we make a new post, or is it on that bid that was?
I've never been in Combis, because we can't get into it, so I don't know what
All
the
right, we'll figure
procedure
it out.
is there. And
We'll call Comcast too if we have.
call myself, see what, get myself.
Do you need a motion for the two buildings to come down?
Yeah.
Well, let's get through the invoices first.
I'm probably gonna call the two contractors, the general contractors anyways, just to let them know.
And one question for you. The switches that we rescinded, was that fall under them, or do you have to email them, or?
Same thing at the end of the central
Remember
registry.
this guy?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, so with that done, review, approve any invoices pending. First invoice pending, Castle Bowes Associates, invoice number 21041.00-15 dated November 30th. Invoice in the amount of $57,084.87.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
How much is left in that line item?
Their original contract amount was $1,794,929, and this puts us at just over 1.4, so there's about 300 still pending.
And do they feel that's gonna go over?
If we have to
No, no, that's-
redesign,
Yeah,
if we have to redesign, yes.
Oh, yeah, redesign, yeah, but that's based on there's so much for,
Construction
design
industry.
development, so much for construction documents, which is the biggest piece of it. There's a small amount for bidding and then CA. So,
So we're in good shape with
yeah,
that?
it's not an hourly thing. Yeah, there's no problem.
Construction administration is listed for $365,000, and obviously that's on hold at this point. so-
Yeah.
That and close up 26,000. So there's a balance of about 390.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. The next line item, there was just a document that they presented from McMahon as part of their invoice. So the next invoice is Pomeroy Associates, dated 12/3/2023. Invoice SBFS-015 in the amount of $11,000.
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, same question, how we looking on budget wise?
So, I had not billed 100% through bidding, so I'll have one more invoice to get us through this phase. I usually bill a month behind. And then we have a balance of $510,000 for construction administration. We're heavy on that side, where KBA is heavy on the design side, we're heavy on the other side because we have full-time people on the job.
All right.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Moved. Next invoice, tie and bond dated 11/22/2023. This is invoice number 112396248 in the amount of $7,775.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Last invoice is again from Tie and Bond dated 11/22/2023. Invoice number 112396249. This is for soil management plan. Amount due on this invoice is $14,240.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Mike, as far as your comment, as far as a vote to take down the buildings, I think you still need to, they would need to prepare it, a package for the bidding anyway.
We certainly understand you want to do that, so we'll look at that. I don't think that's a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much done, and it just has to be carved out, and
Yeah,
the front end, the invitation to bid needs to be put on it. and
I
that's
would
it.
venture to say that you don't need a budget from me, you just need the documents.
Correct. Chief?
Do you remember how much, did we get quotes before, what they were roughly at, just so we can?
It was like
throw them all out?
88,000 for the remediation, and then, it was, the initial quote that we had gotten from Costello was 293,000.
Right.
For two buildings completely remediated and
Yes.
leveled. All right.
All right, anything not on
Yeah.
tonight's agenda that needs to be addressed? Seeing none. Proposal for next meeting, I mean, obviously nothing's gonna happen until,
New Year.
I'd just like to make one comment. I have seen legislation at the state level where they have given money to certain towns for public safety facilities, much more than the $50,000 that we're talking about. And the numbers seem to be all over the place. The highest one I saw was, I can't think of the name of the town now, it begins with an A.
Ashland.
Yeah, they got $12 million.
They didn't.
Oh, they
They, it was proposed, and because we questioned it, it was taken back.
Yes. Yeah, so we kind of pooped that one out now, unfortunately.
Oh, and I withdraw my comment.
There's gotta be something we can tap in the state though.
Just
You
keep
know,
on trying.
So Deputy, and everybody that's been here, Jack and I, in Jack's previous role as the chairman, I've been pounding doors, and it's very frustrating with the politicians. In this particular case, the short version is that the person we've been dealing with in Neil's office was there, was gonna give us updates. He left, never told anybody. So we've had multiple changes in all of these offices, and I'm sure, Mike, you've seen this happen before. I just texted Ann Goby. I know her very well. I've had conversations with her several times about the fire station, but she was in a different role. Now she is. Hopefully she can help us now here. So I'm gonna continue pounding doors and doing the best we can at the legislative level. It's a lot of work, and we've all been sitting here doing a bunch of work on the decision-making and making this happen. But Jack and I will, and all of us, if you can help me out, that'd be great. I appreciate it.
Is that federal money or state money?
State.
Dave.
State.
They also have, oh, I'm sorry, they also have access to the federal funds that were given to Massachusetts too, and that's why we have to try to grab as much as we can, either through the state, that was given from federal to the state.
Yeah.
You know, they were talking, they had billions of dollars of ARPA money they were supposed to allocate and all
Look,
that.
they're either gonna throw it to the MBTA or just, we're asking for a little, not a gazillions, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, thank you.
But just a question to both Rick and Michael at this point. With the holidays and everything else, there's nothing that we're gonna be able to move on the demolition of those buildings before the first of the year, correct?
Probably not. I can't imagine. It depends on if you can check and see how quickly.
Well, I think we could put the package together fairly quickly, but there's advertising there.
Yeah, you have to put out the bid.
All right, so why don't we schedule a meeting for the first week in January?
It's the 3rd, January 3rd. It's the Wednesday.
Yep.
You know, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the committee could vote to, if the package is ready, to put it out to bid, the demolition. If it gets ready and you can advertise it and get it out to bid before the first meeting.
Is there a motion on the floor to do that then, I guess?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So a motion to put out to bid the demolition and demolition and site
If
preparation,
it's ready before.
if it is ready.
Move on it.
We could certainly call a Zoom meeting to discuss it if we had to too. So,
Yeah.
Second on the motion?
I got it second.
Yep.
David seconded, I'm all set.
Okay. All right, any discussion on that motion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Is January 3rd definitely a go then, on the meeting?
So is there any vacation issues or anything at this point, Rick?
Nope.
Okay. So January 3rd, 4:30 here.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? So moved.